What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Path of the Privateer. Today we are going to be doing an FTP test. If you don't know what an FTP test, I will leave a link in the description below. It is a test to kind of give a benchmark. I do this for training, so yeah, let's get dressed and hop to it, and I'll show you guys what it's all about. It's not fun. Let's just put it that way. All right, here we go. FTP test starts off pretty easy. Got a nice little warm-up. Kind of warm up the legs a little bit before you get into the meat and bones of the whole thing. Generally ramps up pretty easy. Bumping up the pace a little bit. Still fairly easy. Nothing too hard, just kind of enough to get this little ramp up to warm you up. All right, time for the next one. This one's like zone 3. Get you really ready for what's to come. Not super hard, but yeah. Nice little warm up. All right, recovery soon. Gonna just chill out. Pedal downhill for a little bit. Little rest break is almost over, and then we've got the actual test. See what we can hit. What's up, guys? So the test is over. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm gonna do this video now. I tested pretty poorly, and yeah, I'm really frustrated. I might just post this anyways, because yeah, show you guys what it's like. I've been really busting my ass hardcore between riding and in the gym. And yeah, I tested pretty poorly. I don't know if I tested wrong, like I went out too hard, or I lost fitness. I have no idea what the deal is, but I dropped, according to the test, about 10 watts, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I'm really frustrated. It's tough because, like, none of my training and none of my riding is anything remotely like taking an FTP test. It's literally you sit and go as hard as you can for 20 minutes. And I never do that. Like, if I'm pedaling, I'm pedaling up at a decently hard pace if I need to. or a pretty chill pace, but like never am I doing 20 minutes like full gas like that. And so like I don't know how to pace myself appropriately. And even when I race, I don't do any of that. So like I don't know how even useful like this number is for me. Like it sets a benchmark for all of my zones, but you know, at the same time, the stuff that I need to be in is not there. Like it's not in these zones. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I'm frustrated. I really expected to test better, but yeah, I didn't. So that's what it is. I guess I gotta figure it out, and I don't know if it's train harder, rest smarter, eat better. I mean, I'm doing everything right as far as I know. So like, yeah, I don't know. I'm frustrated. I went from 253 to like 245 or something like that. So yeah, it's not good. Not at all what I wanted to see.
And that, my friends, is the face of disappointment. For good reason. That's a pretty good drop in FTP, which definitely sucked. But what went wrong? There were a couple of things that went wrong, so we'll take a look at some of the analysis. There's always something to learn whenever you fail, though, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Don't stress about failure, it's a learning process. There's a couple of things I learned. One, make sure that when you take your test, your equipment is in good working order. Somehow my dropper post was down like 25 to 35 millimeters from what it normally was, which is a pretty significant difference. And it really affected my pedaling to the point where my legs were burning a lot sooner than they should have been for efforts that didn't stress me to the point that they should have. If my saddle had been at the correct height, I would have stomped this test. Number two, taking a look at some of the analysis of what went wrong. So here is the ride. So this is what I did. So there was one lap. Basically, there were several different sections, 3 warm-up sections, a rest period, and my test, and then a go back to the car period of time. So if we take a look at this, this is the one we really care about. So this lap 5, let's double click on that. So as you can kind of see here, this is power. Everything's kind of going all crazy and everything like that. So let's smooth this out a little bit. So the first thing you'll kind of notice is this I'm not so worried about. You've got this kind of crazy ramp up. That is mostly just due to the way that I kind of started off the test. You know, I started off and hit high power coming from a lower power zone from the rest period. And so this is kind of not helpful. The rest of this, however, is very helpful. You can see kind of like from here to I've got all these crazy selections now, so let's see if I can, yeah, so this from here to like here, we can see that I held fairly, for the most part, consistent power. There were some ups and downs and everything like that, but then about here, things started to go wrong. Let's just take a look at this selection here real quick. So from here to about here, we'll say. Okay, so selection 9 is what we're looking at. So you can see my average power was about 272, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good power considering that my last test had me probably around like 266. So to put things into perspective a little bit here, had I been able to maintain that, I would have been looking at about 5 watt increase, which isn't crazy, but it's pretty good. Let us then look at this next section. So from here, you can, from the end, you can kind of see what else is going on here. Looking at 11. Whoa, that's pretty significant. That's like 25, almost 30 watts difference. I burned myself out. I started off too fast. And it's pretty easy to kind of see what was going on here. The biggest reason why I did this is when I was pedaling, due to the seat being low, my legs were burning. I wasn't able to give a consistent power. It was sort of like jumping all over. I know power is not always super consistent, right? Like you're not going to be able to put 180 down or 300 down exactly whenever you want it to at all parts of the pedal stroke, but I was getting something weird to the point where when I pedaled, it would have rather significant jumps in power from pedal stroke to pedal stroke, to the point, and it didn't feel like I was mashing, which you would get that. I felt like I was being pretty consistent and everything like that in my pedal stroke. So I ended up mashing to kind of compensate for that, and so that in turn kind of ended up having me push harder than I should have, because my range in power was going from like 250, 240 to like 300 at times. And you can kind of tell that by this huge range of power. So you can tell that from the huge distribution here. Like this should be much more narrow. And probably around here, especially kind of for the lap times I was going for, but we've got this pretty wide band. And here's another graph you can really see what went wrong. Lap 5, you can tell this first section here is generally fairly good. We're kind of like mostly consistent, but then we start dropping down. And there's ups and downs, but there's pretty significant ups and downs, like pushing, like here, I'm pushing 330. That's way too high. And then, you know, we're talking about like 30 seconds later, we're down to 237. So I was struggling pretty hard to keep that consistent power, just due to the saddle height. So yeah, I think all those things coupled together ended up causing my issues. But I guess the thing to note here is, for the type of racing I do, this isn't a huge deal, because as far as zones go, like, yeah, I can expand my zones and everything like that, but, you know, endurance work and interval work, I can still hit what I need to hit. If I'm improving sort of the pieces and places that I need to improve, whatever my zones aren't a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. Like, I need to have a rough idea of what they are, and as long as I'm getting in between those zones, I'm making progress. It's when you don't know what you're doing and where your benchmarks are at that things get tricky and become a problem. So, you know, as disappointing as it was to get that, and I definitely should have had an increase in FTP, and would have had I had my bike set up properly and did not go out as hard as what I did, I would have had that increase in FTP. But it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt me. I just don't have a good benchmark for this next block of training. At which point I can take the test over again whenever it's rest time, and I can get another chance at seeing, hey, where I'm at. There's a lot of different benchmarks that I need for the type of racing I do. You've got, you know, strength benchmarks, you've got time benchmarks, power benchmarks, and there's different things that matter. And so the FTP test is not the end-all be-all, and it does not even in a lot of ways constitute as progress for me and for what I'm doing. You know, there's a lot of other numbers and a lot of other things there that matter. So on that note, just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you like the videos, hit subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Have you guys ever run into this where you've, you know, gotten disappointed at hard work that you've been doing and where you're at with your riding, or something you just can't break through? Let me know. Leave it in the comments below. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.